Good morning. Welcome, everyone. We're going to give just a few minutes for everyone to get settled. I am so thrilled to have you joining us for this morning's session. We're going to begin in just a few moments. I am going to invite you to please have some open-ended materials to play with. We're going to get to dive into actually experiencing the power of play firsthand. So Heather, I'll invite you in the chat box to provide that list of materials, and we'll give just about 60 seconds before we dive in. You'll get a list of some materials. And we'll get ready to dive in, like I said, in just about 60 seconds. Feel free to say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're zooming in from. Lisa is coming from Southern California. We've got Central California, San Francisco. Ooh, aloha from Hawaii. News coming in from Chicago. Lots of great representation all over California. Almost looks like from the very tippy top to the very down south. All right. Well, welcome. It is 11:22, and so I'm going to have us dive into our time of play this morning. I'm so excited to welcome you. On behalf of WestEd and the California Department of Social Services, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to STEAM-powered play, igniting wonder through exploration. During this two-part session, which we are a two-part session, we're going to have an hour before lunch, and then you'll have lunch, head to the lobby, interact with the keynote a little bit more there, and then we'll come back together for part two of our session. We are going to get to explore and experience firsthand the incredible power of play and how it supports children's development and learning, specifically when it comes to STEAM. Research shows that young children thrive in environments that include rich, open-ended play experiences. So together, we're going to explore ways to incorporate more of those rich play-based learning experiences, whether you're in a family childcare setting, center-based classroom setting, family, friend, and neighbor, wherever you are, you're going to find some information that will help you apply STEAM-powered play into your work. I do want to begin with just a moment of incredible gratitude for each of you. I want to thank you for being here, for taking the time to invest in your own professional development and learning. I absolutely believe that early care and learning workforce is changing the world with the work that you do. So I always want to begin with a moment of just sincere gratitude for the positive difference you're making. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, thank you for taking the time to invest in yourselves and in your work this morning. My name is Carly Bedard, and I have been in this incredible field of early childhood education for 25 years. I was a preschool classroom teacher for many years. I was a program director for 10 years before switching gears into this amazing work that I'm so passionate about, which is coaching and training you all, our incredible world-changing early childhood workforce. I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I have to work with you all across our country and in California specifically. And I am extremely passionate about bringing play back to the lives of children, adults, and families in our workforce. So I'm super excited to share some of that passion with you all. And again, I'm really grateful for the world-changing work that you do. All right, with that, should we dive in a little bit? If you would care to join me, go ahead and put your hands up if you're able and make a diving motion and say to yourself, let's dive in. All right, let's dive into some fun together. I wanted to begin with just a moment of kind of getting to know who's in the room, and also begin with an opportunity to ground ourselves in the topic of play. So many of us are coming from a very busy week or morning already. So let's just take a moment to find out who's here in the room, and then again to ground ourselves in our topic of play. So what I would love for you to do is either using emoji responses, which I've already seen some of you are so skilled at, giving some hearts or thumbs up or happy face or whatever makes your heart happy. So you can either use an emoji response or type Y in the chat for yes, to get a sense of who's here. All right, so in the chat or with an emoji, please give a response if you cared for children this week. Go ahead and type a yes in the chat, or I'm seeing tons of thumbs up. All right, lots of you cared for children this week. Amazing. Okay, if you are a family childcare provider, can you give a thumbs up or type Y in the chat if you're a family childcare provider? I'm seeing a couple thumbs up. Awesome. Welcome, welcome. If you are a classroom educator, can you type Y in the chat or give us a thumbs up or heart response? Oh, amazing. Great to see lots of both family childcare providers and classroom educators. All right. And then last but not least, if you are a coach, trainer, or administrator, go ahead and type a Y in the chat or give a thumbs up or a heart. Oh, amazing. Glad to see some administrators and leaders and coaches and trainers here to also experience the incredible power of play. All right. If I missed anyone, go ahead and use the chat box to share your role. Oh, we've got a librarian. Awesome. Feel free to use the chat if I missed anyone. Awesome to see some library workers. I'll be super excited to share the power play with you all as well. All right. And then last but finally not least, go ahead and give me a response in the chat with a Y or using an emoji if you are excited to learn more about play this morning. Let me see who's excited to learn about and experience firsthand. Oh, amazing. Great. Well, I am so excited to learn more about play with you as well. Again, to ground us in our experience this morning and in our topic of STEAM-powered play, I'm going to begin with a video of some children engaged in play. As you observe, what I'm going to invite you to do is just pay attention to your feelings about what you observe. And then also notice the children's engagement with the materials. So think about your feelings, think about the children's engagement with materials. I'm also going to invite you to consider the ways that the caregiver supports children's ideas for play. And then last but certainly not least, think about what STEM concepts, what STEAM concepts you notice the children exploring in this time of play. All right, without further ado, let's watch a little bit of play in action.
Ready, go.
I have an idea. We need something to put them together because we can't put
You
them
wanted
together.
something like what?
To put them together.
But like what?
I don't know, like tape or something.
Okay, I bring some options for you, and you choose what do you need in that, okay?
I got some options.
Okay, I needed some stuff for maybe you decide what do you want to use, okay?
Yeah, like that, like that. And maybe you can put it downhill. No, actually. Up to like this. Oh, I got a great idea. I need more. I need a. Maybe we should try this again. Oh yeah, it works now. It works now. It works now.
All right. What I would love for you to do in the chat, I just love watching that video and seeing the expression of children as they're playing. What I would love for you to do is in the chat, let me know your response to any of those questions that I had asked you. Either how do you feel as you're watching that? How did the caregiver support children's play? What type of STEAM learning did you see in that play? And then what did you notice about the children's engagement with the materials? Lisa shared that we saw some science and engineering. Absolutely. There was joy and confidence from the children, which I think is such an incredible part of child-led unstructured play. We'll talk about that a little bit in part 2. We saw laughter, motion, being excited, a sharing of ideas. Joanna mentioned trial and error, which is such an important part of our scientific process, right? Being able to try something, experiment, and then try again when it doesn't go exactly as we had planned. Discovering freedom, exploring. The teacher followed the children's interests and let them lead. Amazing. Thank you, Karina. Very important point. We saw some cause and effect. Thank you, Gina. Some collaboration from Alice. Andrea mentioned exploration, problem solving, and collaboration. So incredible, incredible, not only STEAM learning, but some incredible social and emotional skills that we see there too. All right, so we're going to use that sort of as our grounding for our time together as we dive into our opportunity to get to define play and then get to explore what play looks like and experience it firsthand. To help us make the most of this time together, I just really briefly wanted to share some workshop agreements that we can hopefully all agree on to help us make the most of this learning time that we have. Our first agreement is we promote learning together. I am going to invite you to continue to share your experiences in the chat, to learn from and with one another. We're also going to have an opportunity to engage in a breakout session. By no means am I the only person with experience and expertise in this space. You all bring an incredible amount of experience and expertise. So I'm super excited for us to get to learn with one another. Our next workshop agreement is that we'll treat each other with respect. Please, as you're engaging with one another, treat one another with respect and show respect towards colleagues and instructors. Our third agreement is to take care of ourselves. Please take care of your biological needs. If you need to stand up, give yourself a little stretch. Can everybody give a stretch if you're able right now? Go ahead and make those body movements as needed to keep your brain and body engaged. I'm going to invite you to be present. We are present. I think this is really important for me to remember as I'm engaged on virtual trainings, for me to make the most of this learning time that I have and this gift of time that I'm giving to myself to come and learn more about play. Presence looks like turning my cell phone over so I'm not distracted. It looks like minimizing other screens that I might have open or other tabs or windows on my computer so that I can really make the most of this learning time. I'm going to invite you to just take a moment and think about what developing a sense of presence looks like for yourself. Again, acknowledging that there's a lot of life happening outside of this time we have together. What are you going to do to make the most of this learning experience that you have to get to experience and explore play? And just kind of jot that down or keep it in your mind to help you make the most of our time together. All right. And then we listen and engage actively. I'm going to invite you to engage in active listening and trying to listen to understand. We're also going to invite your active participation and engagement. Again, using the chat, we'll have an opportunity for breakouts. And then last but not least, I wanted to remember that our personal experiences stay here. This is a safe place to share challenges and personal stories. Sharing freely without fear or judgment promotes professional growth. So if we can agree to those things as we embark on our time of play together, can I see a thumbs up, heart, or a Y in the chat box if you agree to those workshop agreements? Awesome. All right, lovely. Looks like we are all in agreement then. So, without any further ado, I wanted to share the intent of our time together this morning. I have two main learning goals for us. The first is that we'll have an opportunity to reflect on, define, and experience play. This workshop promotes an understanding that play is the primary way young children learn and grow. It naturally supports young children to develop a sense of curiosity and wonder in the world. And it also equips them with the experiences that they need to make meaning of the world and their place in it. So that's definitely going to be our first emphasis. Our second learning goal is that we will recognize the role of play in supporting STEAM learning. Of course, that's what we're here to explore. So, with that, let's dive into a very important question. What is play? To help us answer this question, we're going to reflect on play. We're going to get to explore some of the key characteristics that researchers have identified as being play. And then last but not least for this morning session, we're going to get to actually experience some play firsthand. But before we reflect on a personal play memory, I'm going to invite you to just take a moment to reflect on that question that I just posed. What is play? And just take about 30 seconds to jot down for yourself or in the chat, or just bring it to top of mind, your response to that question. What is play? I'm seeing some responses of self-led exploration, creative freedom, play is joy, exploration while having fun. Amazing. Curiosity and exploration. Lots of active words, right? And again, we're going to get an opportunity to experience that firsthand. But in thinking about answering that question, what is play? I also wanted to invite you to have a moment to ground ourselves in reflecting on your own personal experiences with play. So I'm going to invite you to make your body comfortable, whatever that looks like for you. And I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And I want you to take a moment to think about a positive play experience that you had as a child or even as an adult. If you'd like to close your eyes for a moment and just connect with a positive play experience that you had as a child or as an adult, I want you to think about what you remember about that experience. Where were you? What were you doing? Who were you with? And how did you feel? Go ahead and take just a moment to connect with that personal play memory. Connect with the feelings that arise as you think about that positive play experience. And then I'm also going to invite you to just take a moment to maybe jot down just one or two words to help you remember that play experience and keep it in the front of your mind as we're moving towards this morning's workshop. So go ahead and just jot down one or two words about that time of play. I'm going to invite you to hold on to that positive play experience. I also want us to take a few moments to share some information about our positive play experience memories. So what I would love for you to do, I see some folks sharing in the chat, which is amazing. What I'd love for you to do is take just a moment and think about sharing a few words in the chat about your play memory. I'm seeing Carly mentioned in the woods, getting messy in the creek, no adults, feeling completely capable. Luz mentioned creating mud pies at the park and the sense of freedom it stimulated. Anne mentioned feeling free. Dee Dee mentioned building a fort in the forest. Janeth said she was happy, engaged, felt free and capable. I'm seeing lots of mud play, which I love. In case you don't know, International Mud Play Day is coming up on June 30th, if you care to celebrate. I'm seeing some making pie pans with mud and rocks, flying kites, the fact that it was open-ended. Awesome. How many of you was your play outside, that positive play memory that you conjured up? If your playtime that positive play memory was outside, can you either type yes or give me an emoji? Lots of yeses. Almost every time I facilitate this experience, the majority of people's experiences were in fact outside play. Okay, my next question is, how many of you was your play experience led by children? It wasn't led by adults. It was something that children were determining what was going to happen and what you were going to do. Let me see some emojis or why, if your experience was child-led versus adult-directed. Lots of yeses and thumbs up. Awesome. Well, thank you again for just taking a moment. I want you again to hold on to that positive play memory that you have as we engage through the rest of our time together. And I did want to share a little bit about the current state of play and part of the reason why we developed this workshop to be able to provide for folks throughout the state of California. Dr. Stuart Brown has found that in the US and in the UK, outside playtime has decreased 71% in just one generation, which is the span of 20 to 30 years. Again, many of you shared that your play memory was outside. I want you to consider the enjoyment that children and adults experience in playing outside. And again, the fact that that time outside has decreased 71% in just one generation. I'd love to hear in the chat, or even just for you to think to yourself, what are some of the reasons you think playtime outside has decreased? What are some of those reasons maybe children aren't having the opportunity to play outside as much? Safety, technology, certainly. Moving from rural to suburban, electronics, tablets, higher academic expectations, structured education. We are actually going to get to unpack some of the barriers to integrating play, true child-led unstructured play, in part 2 of our time together. And so we'll get to touch base on some of these areas, but certainly what you're mentioning all have had an impact on children's ability to play outside. The good news is, as caregivers, we actually have a very important role in giving children the time and opportunities to get the opportunity to engage in rich, open-ended outdoor play. Our actions as teachers, educators, leaders, and caregivers can actually support and increase opportunities for outdoor play. Many of you also mentioned that your time of play was unstructured, meaning it wasn't led by adults. So in addition to the decline of outdoor play, research has also found a steep decline in unstructured child-led play. In fact, in 2019, a Genius of Play report found that 75% of children do not get enough active, unstructured playtime. And again, for many of the same reasons that you mentioned, why children don't have as much time to play outdoors, impact our use of or lack thereof, providing children for opportunities for unstructured child-led play, which is exactly why we're here for this 2-part session, to get to uncover some of those barriers to integrating play and identify how we can bring back more rich, STEAM-based, unstructured play experiences to young children. So before we get to experience play, I wanted to share a little bit about a working definition of how we're going to define play during our time together. For decades, researchers, authors, and advocates have struggled to develop one clear definition of play. In fact, play researcher Brian Sutton Smith has identified over 300 definitions of play. So even though play is complex and researchers have difficulty agreeing on one singular definition, many play researchers and authors do agree on some common attributes or qualities of play. Prominent play researcher Peter Gray explains that play is not about a specific activity. It is about your motivation, that internal desire that you have to engage in that activity, and the enjoyment that you feel during that activity. So, a perfect example is for some of us, myself included, I consider going on a hike as a time of play. I enjoy that and am internally motivated to do it. Others might think a hike sounds more like punishment. So that's just one example of that internal motivation and enjoyment we get. I want to draw attention to just a few other key elements of play identified by Dr. Gray. He also mentions that play is self-chosen and self-directed, meaning it's something the player chooses to do. Play is creative and usually imaginative. When engaged in play, the player is often pretending and using their imagination to create. And then last but not least, another characteristic is play is an activity in which the means are more valued than the ends. So play is not about finishing or making something specific. It's really about enjoying the process. So any activity, including different play activities, may or may not feature all of these elements, but the more elements that an activity has, the more playful that activity can be considered. So think about your own play memory that I just invited you to conjure up. And I want you to think about the words that you use to describe that play and think about how it connects to this definition of what play is. Again, to help us use more open-ended play experiences to support children's STEAM learning. Now that we've defined what play is and reflected on a play memory, we're going to help us ourselves reconnect with the incredible power of play by having some time to experience open-ended play for ourselves. Sometimes we might think that play is only essential for children. However, research shows that play is necessary and beneficial for us as adults too. Today's play experience is an opportunity for us as adults to engage in play with open-ended materials. This specific type of play is known as self-active play. Self-active play describes children's and adults' spontaneous play with open-ended materials, particularly reusable and upcycled materials. Sometimes we call those loose parts or found objects. We'll dive more into the concept of specific materials in part 2. But self-active play uses open-ended materials. And when we use open-ended materials, the brain engages and focuses as it sorts and creates order. The play space and the materials promote natural curiosity and a sense of wonder, which activates the brain to construct new meaning. If we intend to prioritize the joy of play in the lives of children, we as adults need to make sure that we find time and space to enjoy play and find that joy for ourselves. So that is exactly what we are going to do right now. There was a list provided in this workshop description of open-ended loose parts materials that you might have ready for our time of play. If you did not have a chance to gather or collect some of those curated materials, I would love for you to just take a quick 90 seconds. I'm going to play a little music and I'd love for you to grab some materials. Um, if you didn't have a chance to grab some or you want to add some additional materials, on the screen, you'll see some inspiration of materials that you might have quickly and readily available. Heather can also pop in the chat the list of materials that we sent. But we're going to give you just a quick 90 seconds to gather some materials, and then I'll explain our time of play. If you already have your materials readily available and you want to pop in the chat what you brought to play, feel free to let us know in the chat. I brought some blue caps, some wooden rings. Let us know what you have. Ooh, some shoelaces. Buttons, chopsticks. Awesome. Seashells, crystals, and rocks, tiles, paper clips. One of the things I want to mention in our last 30 seconds is we'll talk about this in part 2. Abundance matters. For our time of play, having lots of different materials, or not different materials, but having lots of one set of materials will definitely help extend your imagination, creativity, wonder, and steam-powered play. All right, just about 20 seconds left. I'm seeing popsicle sticks, rubber bands. Oh, you all brought some fun materials to play with. Craft sticks, cardboard rolls, pom-poms. Awesome. Some forks. Amazing. All right. Stop our music. And we are going to dive into our time of play. Before I forget to mention, this list of recommended materials is for our adult time of play. I am not saying these are materials that we would use with children. We will dive into safety and using loose parts for a wide variety of ages in part 2. But just a quick plug to remind you that these are materials I would be using for our adult play experience. All right, so now we're going to actually get to play. Although there's no right or wrong way to play, I do want to offer a few invitations to help you make the most of this experience that you have. If possible, I'm going to invite you to play in a quiet space. If you can close the door, if there are other people around where there are no distractions, try and remain present and engaged and connected with yourself and your materials. I want you to give yourself permission to engage with your materials in any way you would like. Again, there's no right or wrong way to play. Just open your heart and mind to the possibilities that the materials and your imagination present. We live in such a very busy, structured day-to-day routine. Embrace that sense of permission that you're giving yourself to just explore and imagine and wonder. I'm going to invite you to participate fully in the play. Let go of any assumptions of what your play should or should not look like. Use this time to experience a sense of mindfulness and connection with yourself and with the materials. Enjoy the experience, again, as a protected time of connection with yourself and your imagination. And then last but not least, I'm going to invite you to trust the process. We're going to have about 15 minutes to play. And so if at any time in that 15 minutes, you feel like you've kind of completed your play or you feel like you're done, what I'm going to invite you to do is just take a moment, pause, and take a deep breath. and explore and notice if you think of any new ideas with that gift of time. See what happens. Maybe your imagination has something else in store. You can also add some additional materials to your play. Those additional materials might offer new inspiration and engagement. And then after our time of play, you're going to have a few moments to record your thoughts and journal a little bit about your experience. And then we're going to have an opportunity to share our experience with one another in breakout rooms before we come back together. So I'm going to play some lovely music for us. We'll have 15 minutes to play. Enjoy this time. I'll give you about a 1-minute warning when it's going to be time to find a place of pause in our play. But enjoy this gift and time of play. You have just about 1 minute left in your time of play. We'll come back together. I'm going to invite you to find a place of pause in your play. And once you have found that place of pause in your time of play, I'm going to invite you to have an opportunity to just reflect on what happened. And invite you to take a moment to think about that play experience that was unique to you and this time and space. Go ahead and pause for a moment. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And I'm going to give you just about 60 seconds to do a little bit of journaling. Write down some thoughts that happened as you played. What feelings did you have? What did you learn about yourself during that time of play? And then what STEAM concepts did you encounter in your time of play? I'll play a little bit of quiet music again for just about 60 seconds, and you'll have that opportunity to just journal a little bit about that time of play you had, and then we'll get to head into breakout rooms to share with one another about that time. About 20 seconds to finish reflecting and jotting down some thoughts about what happened when you played, what you learned about yourself, what STEAM concepts you explored. All right, and then once again, I will invite you to find a place of pause in that journaling and reflection. And now we're going to have an opportunity to get to share with one another before we come back and then get to share with the collective group. So we're going to have an opportunity to share about your play experience with a partner. You're going to have about 2 minutes each. We're going to send you into breakout rooms for 5 minutes. You'll be in there with a partner. And so if you'd like to try active listening, you can invite one person to set a timer for 2 minutes and then invite the first person to share, set another timer for 2 minutes for the second person to share. And then you'll have about a minute just to connect and find any trends or commonalities in your time of play. I'm going to open the playrooms. We will again be in there for 5 minutes and then we'll come back and get to explore with the larger group what happened during that time of play. Let me know if you're having any trouble finding those breakout room invitations, and we will see you back in 5 minutes. Let us know if you're having any trouble finding those breakout rooms. Invitations. Heather, if you see folks who are alone and want to pair them up in breakout rooms, that would be great. If there's any technical difficulties with getting into the breakout rooms, let us know. Heather, it looks like Alice and Aida and Carly aren't seeing where those breakout invitations are. Our lovely tech help will be providing some support for you all. Heather's going to move you in manually. We've just got about 2.5 minutes left in the breakout rooms. For those of you who are maybe still having some technical difficulties, if you want to type in the chat a bit about your play experience and what happened, any STEM concepts you explored, or what you found your imagination doing as you played, feel free to let us know in the chat. Awesome. Alice had some paper clips, toothpicks, blue tape. Alice, what happened as you played? I'd love for you to share a little bit in the chat about where your imagination took you, or what STEM concepts or STEAM concepts you explored. Carly said she finds herself organizing when she plays with loose parts. That certainly happens for me sometimes too, Carly, especially depending on kind of what's happening in life outside of my time of play. Yes, classifying, lots of classifying before we engage in play. All right, folks will be joining us in just about another 30 seconds, but feel free to continue to chat, share in the chat of what happened in your time of play. All right, about 5 seconds, and looks like the breakout room friends will be joining us. Oh, sorry, they have 1 more minute now. It's always fun, learning how those timers for breakout rooms work. All right, 1 more minute, and then they'll be joining us back. So feel free to type in the chat, or share in the chat what happened during that time of play for you. Where did your mind take you? What were you thinking about? What STEAM concepts did you explore? Aida had colored pencils and pens and was building and stacking like Lincoln logs. Awesome. No worries, Maria. Welcome back. We're just sharing in the chat. A few of us weren't able to make it into breakout rooms. So folks are just sharing in the chat what happened in their time of play. Oh, Carly, I missed your last comment that said building as well as exploring what if I, and how can I make it different. absolutely the experimenting that happens in this time of open-ended play is really incredible to watch. Jeanette said she explored some spatial relationships, art and design, and weight. May had some chopsticks and mini balls, so created a maze. Eugenia was relaxed, concentration satisfied, at peace. All right, looks like almost everyone should be back from our breakout rooms. Welcome back, everyone. All right, in our last minute together before we head for lunch, I would love to hear in the chat a little bit about what happened during that time of play for you all. So if you can share one word that describes how you felt during your time of play, and then any STEAM concepts that you experienced in that time of play. I'm seeing relaxed. Alice said, when I saw the clips, I thought about linking them together, and then I looked at the toothpicks and the idea of a suspension bridge evolved. So I used blue tape to connect the ends of the paper clips to separate two toothpicks. Lastly, I tucked the toothpicks on the blue tape. Voila, a bridge is done. Alice, that definitely represents what we're going to talk about in part 2 of our session together, which is the magic and STEAM-powered learning that happens when we offer children time, space, and open-ended materials. I see folks sharing they felt creative, relaxed, a sense of experimentation, lots of trial and error. I certainly experienced trial and error as I was trying to see how tall of a tower I could build. Creative, experimenting, feeling connected, learn to be creative, building different ways. Absolutely. Thank you all so much for sharing. Before we head to lunch, I wanted to end part 1 with this quote from Octavio Paz that says, "Play is a form of freedom. When we play, we remind ourselves that life is not a task to be completed, but a joy to be experienced." And I think that is certainly true when it comes to STEAM-powered learning for young children. Finding that joy and that innate wonder and curiosity that children possess. So again, in part 2, we're going to have the opportunity to dive into, now that we've experienced play and defined what it is, how do we actually bring more of these open-ended, STEAM-powered experiences of play into our settings? We'll get to talk about materials, we'll get to talk about overcoming barriers to play, and how we can integrate as many play experiences to promote STEAM in our programs. Thank you all so much for being here. Enjoy your lunch, and I look forward to seeing you for part 2 of our time together. Continue to share in the chat for those of you who want to express that experience you had. And thank you again for your amazing engagement. We will see you all after lunch, everybody. Thank you.